liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone.
And
Good evening to the folks at home.
You okay? Yeah. I had a tough day.
At 7 o'clock, I'd like to ask for a motion to open a public hearing on the franchise agreement between the town and Spectrum Northeast.
I make the motion that you do what you just said that you were going to do.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, second.
I'm sorry, I was breaking protocol on the flow of motion.
Oh, sure. Okay, is there any public comment on the franchise agreement? It's been on our website for a while, and being no public comment, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Public comment. Anybody have anything? Okay. We'll move right on to, I think everybody wants to get out of here before the storm. Is that what it is?
Say it ain't so.
I have the previous minutes from February the 13th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Communications, I have a letter from our new member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Patrick Ryan. It's a basic letter saying that he loves us all and he wants to work with us. And I have the address of his Director of Intergovernmental Affairs and Deputy Chief of Staff, who can be reached by his email, Daniel Torres. So if anybody would like to request anything from Congressman Ryan, let me know, and I'll copy this. I just got this today, by the way. I'll copy this and send it out to everybody so they have his name and address. Now, our Assemblyman, Chris Yukis, is going to do something similar to what the previous Assemblyman did, and this would be Extraordinary Women of the 99th Assembly District Awards. So if we on the board have anyone we would like to nominate as the Extraordinary Woman of the 99th Assembly District, let's get together, and we have to put in a name by Friday, March the 10th. Okay, so if anybody has any ideas, let's get together, email each other, and see if we come up with somebody.
Okay.
Okay? And I did send this letter out to everyone.
Yeah, I read it. I saw it.
I received a letter from Mark Baker, who is the president of Soft Lights Foundation. He starts out the email by saying, "This is a public comment. The attached letter describes the hazards and lack of vetting and regulation of LED streetlights and requests that the town of Highlands turn off the LED lights due to the dangers they present to the public." He gave me a bunch of info, sent us a bunch of information on it. Did I send this? I sent this out to you guys too.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so obviously we're not going to turn the lights off tonight, but if anybody would like to bring it up at the next meeting, we can do that.
Just so the public knows, we don't own a single one of them. That never happened.
Exactly.
That's Orange and Rockland. The one next to my house was burned out for 3 years. It was a mercury vapor light. I liked it being burned out. They replace it with a 5000K LED, and that's O&R. We have no control over that.
Right. Orange County sent again, a very large, long briefing on oversight and review. This is more for the, and I sent this, by the way, to both of our boards, the ZBA and the planning board, saying what they think should be reviewed by the county Department of Planning and what should not be reviewed by them. So this information was passed out. Kelly sent around to us a record of cash audit. She struggled for at least a good week doing the audits for the entire town. And she found a few discrepancies, which we'll talk about later. But other than that, how'd the town do on the audit, Kelly?
For the most part, they were fine.
Yeah, did this go to the board?
Yes,
Okay.
they all got it.
Okay. I have a few this time, not a lot, of budget transfers. Court cell phone expense to court other to court other expenses, $93 for the purchase of supplies at year end exceeded the budget. Police personal services went to police equipment, $6,100 for computers for police cars over budget. Police retirement went to installment purchase principal, $8,911. Police car lease payments paid from reserve fund. FICA went to installment purchase principal, $2,621. Police car lease payments paid from reserve fund. Water District 2 equipment to water charges, $10,637. Water charges from the village were higher than budgeted. Water District 2 other expenses to water charges, $3,090. Same reason, water charges from the village was higher than budgeted. Then grant revenue went to police equipment, $14,883. That moves the grant revenue to cover the live scan purchase for the police department. I have a motion to approve all these.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Everything all right?
No, I looked at them before.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Board liaison reports will start with Dean.
With Dean. Thank you, Supervisor. So just have just quick on recreation. This past weekend, we held a cheerleading football clinic at West Point's Mikey Stadium, which we had roughly 225 kids show up, local community kids, which was a great showing. A lot of enthusiasm and excitement out there. It was held in conjunction with the Army West Point football and Rabble Rousers, and part of West Point's community outreach program, which lasted about 2 hours. It was a wonderful outing, and just like to give a big thank you to Aaron for partnering with West Point and the community folks to put that on. It was a great event. League basketball is wrapping up for the season, and just wanted to remind players that the fundraising March Mania tournament is approaching, and players are still needed. Looks like most of the play will take place during the day on Saturday, March 11th at the Highland Falls Intermediate School. Also, just like to remind children who might be interested in learning and playing lacrosse this spring, that there's a new youth lacrosse program up and running with Coach Katie Irby. To get more information on that, we can visit bearmountainlacrosse.com to give you more information on signing up for that. And just another key point, spring is fast approaching, even though we're getting some snow tonight. That Ponytail and Little League will be firing up, and we're always looking for help and coaches and so forth for both Ponytail and Little League to help out for the season. That's all I got for now.
Thank you, sir.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Bob. Quiet report from all our departments. Everything's been quiet, everything going well up at our highway. 2 weeks ago, I've been sitting in on the Indian Point decommissioning forums. One of the interesting things I've learned is that the company called Holtec, who they run nuclear power plants, but they're also the company that's decommissioning Indian Point. One of the big issues which I think our community and communities adjacent to Indian Point is that there's a pool of water that is loaded with tritium, which is my understanding, and Rich, I always look to you for science corrections in case I get it wrong, but
That's the thing that.
tritium's got a
that's the thing that
molecular.
Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus needed to get rid of Spider-Man is tritium. So go ahead.
Well, if it was that good, we maybe go for it. But they have a million gallons worth of cooling water down there that's laced with tritium. Tritium is a molecular structure similar to water, which means it doesn't break down easy. It absorbs easier. It has a half-life of 12.33 years, meaning that it sticks around for a while. And what Holtec is looking to do is and they don't like to use the word dump. They wish to place this water, this tritium-laced pool of water from Indian Point into the Hudson River, which, again, do you want this radioactive element floating around our Hudson, especially after the many years that were spent cleaning up PCBs? I mean, I think the river's health, my understanding, has probably never been better. And this seems to be a big issue. I think as a community, we need to pay attention to it. If people want to learn more, you can go to www.grassrootsinfo.org/Indian Point Forum. If you just, again, Google anything regarding Indian Point, you'll find things on this. But they're encouraging people, right, all the people that we know in office to take a look into this thing. And as I learn more, I will, bring more information to the table. After that, I attended the Association of Towns Conference in New York City. A lot of breakout rooms and, things from learning about budgets, highway budgeting, town things, legal issues. A lot of good information, especially as kind of a still relatively freshman council member. It was good to learn a lot of different things that go into running our community. So it was a real good networking event. It was a lot of fun and very informative. One of the favorite things I came across was an old quote from Daniel Patrick Monahan. And I'm going to read this quote because it's about 5 words, but it really pertains well to everything we deal with in our community, whether it's an upcoming election or information in our community, things I just told you about Indian Point for another thing. And this was at a legal conference about free speech. And Mr. Moynihan had said, "You are entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." And I think the power in that one sentence goes a long way. Again, you're entitled to your opinion, but not your own facts. And you can apply that into anywhere in our community. Nice, simple statement, makes a whole lot of sense. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilman King.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Just a few notes from me tonight. We'll start with first giving some praise to our first responders for the job that they've done. I know the chief will probably get into the details, but everybody by now, if you don't know, there was a huge accident this morning on 9W. And so approximately 18 vehicles, if not exactly 18, but all I know is our first responders, our firemen, our police officers did a phenomenal job at handling that incident, and then clearing the roads expeditiously, getting people to where they needed to go. So I'll save the rest for Chief. But thanks, guys, for what you do and what you did this morning. The senior residence program. We got a few things in regards to seniors. Before that, I want to announce that there's going to be conversational Spanish taking place at Holy Innocents starting April, and it's going to go April through May on Sundays, 11:30 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. That's in the parish hall. Conversational Spanish. So anyone interested in learning Spanish at a conversational level, feel free to join them. Then we got a knitting group at the center on Mondays from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Men's social group at the center Tuesdays, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So 1 hour. And then there's a ladies' social group at the center on the third Wednesday of the month, and that's 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Got something called Information and Fun at the Holy Innocents Parish Hall, third Saturdays. I don't have a time on that one, though. Contact the center if you're interested. We got Hudson Valley Women's Association and Friends Annual March Mania Co-ed Basketball Tournament, Friday and Saturday, March 10 through 11 at the Highland Falls Intermediate School. Special competition, New York Army National Guard versus special guest. Sounds exciting. They got pocketbook bingo at the American Legion Hall, Wednesday, April 12th, 6 p.m. The Town of Highlands Community Coalition, Orange County Family Wellness Conference for Orange County students and their families, grades 8 through 12, Highland Falls Intermediate School, 8:30 a.m., 3 p.m. I don't see the date on that one. April 22nd, which is Earth Day, by the way, for those who didn't know that. Washington, D.C. day trip to the African American Museum, which is Monday, June 19th. For those who don't know, June 19th is the actual day for Juneteenth. And so that is the conclusion of the Juneteenth weekend that we normally do here in the Hudson Valley, in the town of Highlands. So we'll have our parade on Saturday the 17th. And then we'll do some other things, but then conclude with this trip to the African American Museum. That's arranged by the center, by the way. And then they got a trip to Maine that happened in June 26th to the 30th, 23. All right. I just want to say from the emergency management perspective, by now everyone should know that we're under a severe weather warning, and that means that we should prepare for the snowstorm that's projected to come. It's better to be prepared and not need it than be unprepared and need it. And so the first thing I would suggest and recommend that people stay off the road that don't need to be on the road. And secondly, if you're on the road for whatever reasons, then have yourself some survival stuff in your vehicle, i.e. blankets, water, pocket heaters, anything that could keep you alive for at least 24 hours to the police and those first responders show up. That's what they used to teach us up in Alaska when I was in the Army. You had to be prepared. And then I will conclude with tomorrow was scheduled to be the Town of Highlands Buffalo Soldiers Black History Month program, which we were resurrecting from being dormant because of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was a program that was originated during the time of Sergeant Sanders Matthews back in 2016, and it went for 4 years up to 2019, and then 2020 we know we had a pause because of the pandemic. And so with some coordination through the school, the superintendent, the district of Highland Falls, Fort Montgomery, and West Point, and the town, and everybody, we were prepared to execute a phenomenal program tomorrow. However, it has now been postponed due to the inclement weather that we're expecting. And so it's now scheduled to be next Tuesday, March 7th, 7:45 a.m. at James I. O'Neill High School in the theater. So subject to anybody's questions, that's all I got, dear Supervisor.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. King, what time was the basketball game you mentioned at the Highland Falls Intermediate School? Sorry about that.
Basketball game. That is,
I think Dean mentioned that, didn't he? Or not?
well, let me punt it to Dean then. He got the answers.
It was, that's the March Mania tournament.
Yeah.
On March
Just
11th,
What time
10
was
to
that
11.
at, if you happen to have it? If not,
I got Friday, Saturday, March 11th at the Highland Falls Intermediate School. Special competition. I have no time
okay,
whatsoever.
I'll look it up. Thank
I'll
you.
find out.
Games will be between about 11 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Miss Mary Jane Pitt.
That's on the 11th?
10 to 11. Saturdays.
Friday night's exhibition game and the kids play on Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
My turn?
Yes, sir, Councilman Sullivan.
Okay. We won't be here till 10 o'clock. I'm not that long tonight. So the ZBA, as I always say, meets on the third Wednesday of the month. They met on February 15th here. I attended. The only other person in attendance besides the board and their attorney was Philip Hannawalt. And they adopted their minutes in January and went into executive session. So that's all I have on that. If they meet in March, which would be the third Wednesday, I will let everybody know at the next meeting. The planning board, I didn't attend. I don't know if Dean could attend, and I think Joey did attend.
I did.
And Philip attended, so Philip filled me in a little bit on it. I believe there, on their agenda, was 915 Route 9W, which is the old Garrison House. And was West Point Realty there, Justin?
Yes, they were.
Holiday Inn?
It was an informal appearance, but talking about some potential changes to their site plan.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, and Justin can correct me, for the last 2 or 3 years, they've had an approval for another hotel, which would be kind of perpendicular to 9W, next to Fort Fitness, situated that way on that lot. They have to get extensions every year, which I believe they have gotten over time. I think they had an Article 78. I don't know if that's been resolved. So that's still approved, just so nobody has a heart attack when they find out that there's something going in there. That's been going on for a long time. With the sewer, last Tuesday, Bob was kind enough to join me. Spent the whole day down at the plant. A good portion of that day was I'm going to just say Joe Fung from the DEC. I don't know how to say his first name. He seemed okay with this, and here were what his questions were before the fact that I answered. How many miles of pipe in our system? How many number of overflows in the last year? Corrective actions completed in the last year, along with lab reports. The plant operator took care of all the lab reports. They're all up to date and all that. We have over 5 miles, just a little bit over that. And last year, we've cambered several thousand feet and jetted the same where needed. We reported the June 5th overflow to New York Alert and the EPA along with the DEC, and that was about as harmless as an overflow could be. We've talked about it at length in past meetings. It was down behind Jim Ripper's house there next to Pump Station 3. We cleared the sewer easement down there for the first time in a good number of years as part of our corrective actions. We are using Diamond Maps, which is $20 a month, and it's up to me to get more people to be users on it. Slowly, we're recording everything into perpetuity. So these people could go out of business. You'll own the map. I don't think they're going out of business. They help a lot of municipalities to locate and keep their stuff, and you can put in notes, you can take pictures. It's very, very helpful, rather than calling somebody who retired 35 years ago to find out what's down in that manhole, which is how I don't like to do things. We're putting a roof on the Headworks building. We're getting a replacement truck. The truck only has 280,000 miles on it and is 20 years old. I didn't see anything wrong, but I guess it's time to replace the truck. So Junkyard Richie was overruled on that one. And I'm only kidding. We do need a new truck down there. Not new, used. They want us to put a high flow alarm down at the plant, which I don't quite know, because we already have all kinds of notifications if something happens. and a possible standby generator up at Fawnwood, which is up on Canterbury Road. If that electricity were to fail, it would take that pump station 3 days before there would be a problem. TAM is normally there within an hour. The problem with up there is I don't know how much property we actually own. It's not fenced in. You cannot put in a standby generator, and there's no three-phase up there. It's only conventional 220. Without having fence and all that, the neighbor may not be appreciative of that, so I'm resistant to it. But if they're gonna make us do it, then we're gonna have to do it sometime in the next 2 years. I gave the flows at the sewer plant last meeting for January. I attended the fire commissioners meeting last Tuesday. They had a legal notice pertaining to reductions in real property tax for qualified members. I let them know the town has an existing code from 2006 pertaining to the same, and that they should confer with the assessor, as the county did not think that the March 1st deadline was achievable. They're not ready on their end for all these changes that recently occurred. So I'm not sure where all that's at, but I think I probably stirred them up a little bit when I went there, all with good intent. They're a great organization. I attended the battle site meeting on the 15th. Great bunch of people. They're planning many activities this spring. At the library last Friday, I attended the Community Choice Aggregation meeting. It was attended a lot better than most of them, probably mostly because of a social media star. Anything you wanted to have answered was answered there, and I grilled Jeff to give answers to things that I was getting that people weren't sure about. We've had so many of those. On our website, it's posted. There's a couple of Zooms coming up. I'm not sure when they are. It's on the website, so there'll be more of that. The building department, I spent a lot of time there last week. There was a lot of complaints about 915 Route 9W in Fort Montgomery, which has some violations that are being gone through. And I believe an executive, we might talk about a business in Fort Montgomery. That's all I'll say about it, is I think we're going to talk about it in executive. Last Friday, I went to the Ukraine Memorial Service up at Holy Innocents. Did I say that right? Holy Innocents, the name of that church, right? It was a very nice service. I met, and this wasn't meant to be political, but Chris Yukis was there. Talked to him a little bit. And I got a note in my box from Gene Tallman tonight. And it says, can you please mention at the board meeting, it's also on Channel 23, Town of Highlands St. Patrick's Day Parade, Saturday, March 18th. Starts at 2 p.m. Driving through Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery, looking for more vehicles or floats to participate. And this will be on Channel 23, but there's a number to call here if you'd like to participate, 845-774-5791. Done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chief, have anything for us?
I'll just comment about the accident this morning on 9W. I've noticed in the little about 2 years I've been here that the accidents are getting more severe and more frequent on 9W. There were 2 accidents this weekend that were fatalities on the Palisades Parkway, which is the same type of construction and the same design age as 9W. This morning was 18 vehicles involved, initially blamed on black ice. It was further revealed that there was no ice present when any first responders arrived. So we can guess what might have caused it, but people need to pay attention and they need to slow down on 9W on that stretch of roadway. From Fort Montgomery to Angola Road in Cornwall, that section of 9W was built in 1940. So we are going to attempt additional efforts for speed enforcement to slow people down on 9W.
We had maybe 2 or 3, 4 years ago, every emergency service unit in this general area, we met in Cornwall, and we basically begged DOT to take the speed limit down to 45 miles an hour on that I think it's a 3-mile stretch from bottom to bottom. Obviously, they didn't hear us. And they said, well, nobody's going to do 45, they'll all do 55. Well, that's fine, because right now it's 55 and they're all doing 75. So
I sat on 9W one afternoon with 2 of our officers and 2 from the village of Highland Falls. They stopped, I believe, 25 vehicles that I was calling out the vehicles and the speeds from radar. The top speeds that I noticed were 85, 89, and 92 miles an hour.
Wow.
And that was going past our highway garage, going northbound. I'd like to see speed cameras put on that stretch of 9W.
I agree.
Mr. King, would you like to do your?
Yeah, I got something,
Go ahead. you can-
okay, so, Officer Newberry.
Come on up here.
So we've already read this once, but I thought it was worthy of reading again with the officer present this time. The difference really between that time and now is that I just heard about the story and it was phenomenal enough when I heard about it. But this time I was able to go and talk to the person who owns the building, who was in the situation that Officer Newberry responded to, Miss Providence. So Senator James Skoufis certificate of recognition presented to Officer Brian Newberry in recognition for his heroic actions on Sunday, the 15th of January, 2023, in rescuing one of our local residents from a burning building. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and signature on this 23rd of 2023. Senator James Skoufis, New York State Senate, 42nd Senate District.
Why don't you go around and present?
I'm going to do that, but I just wanted to say, before I get down there, I wanted to say from the mouth of Miss Providence, she said it was like an angel coming up behind her, because when she went in looking for her pets, all she noticed is somebody come behind her and grab her and said, I got to get you out of this building. And so Officer Newberry, in my view, is a local hometown hero. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you very much.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob,
Sir,
just a couple comments on Storm King. So, everything the chief said is accurate. If you go to social media, there's a page called Status of Storm King, and you'll see a lot of comments on things. So, it was paved 5 years ago. The contractor that paved it is a reputable contractor. I've worked for them before. They have a blacktop plant up at Stewart Air Force. They make them use this product called Super Pave and all that. What wasn't a part of that project was rock removal, drainage improvements. It was just paving. That's all it was, milling and paving. So underneath you have surface water that's concrete underneath there. Most modern improvements of that nature, about every 300 feet you'll put a drain in so that the underground water gets out of the drain and doesn't bubble through the blacktop. If you look at it now, especially by mile marker 32.5 going southbound, it's been cracked there since day one. It's about to fall apart. They patched it a few times. And if you go to the Cornwall side of the mountain, you'll see all the rock is back 20 feet. It's pre-split. It's sloped down into a ditch, so the rocks cannot go onto the highway, nor can the water. On our end of it, they're going to have to spend about $20 million because most of the wall is gone. There's Jersey barriers all over the place where people have hit the walls and it's fallen down. And the rock itself, there's places where the water freezes and it's only that far from the edge of the road when you drive by, almost the whole way down southbound. They have to spend some money there, and something curious I saw on that site is tunneling. I've done tunneling. It's about $1.5 billion per mile for a water tunnel. If you go 4 lanes, it's probably about $3 billion, and would go about 150 feet underneath all of the Cornwall's water system, all their reservoirs up there, if they came out at Storm King School. So they're not going to tunnel it, and somebody somewhere, I mean, I want to lobby them, they got to put some money into that road, a lot of it. Get rid of some of the rock the way it is on Cornwall, pre-split it, fix the wall, and put some drainage in. Otherwise, they can pave it all they want. It's just going to keep doing what it's doing now. That's my comment.
Thank you. Kelly, do you have anything? Olga, do you have anything? And the trustee from the village, do you have anything for us? You sure? You just come to see us? Okay.
Can I throw out one more thing? Olga, and the mailer for the CCA went out last week, did it not? Okay. And I think my neighbor told me the number quoted for Orange and Rockland was what they're charging around 15 cents. But I think it's, or 10, it says 10 cents in the mailer, but actually on ours, up to 15, which is starting to prove even more that no matter which part of the CCA you choose, the standard or the more green option, you're still looking at right now, what, 3 to 4 cents kilowatt hour savings. Do I have that correct?
Right, the information that's in the mailer was developed
A few
a
months
while
back,
ago.
right.
And it takes into a 12-month average of O&R rates. So it does not reflect the current state. I think people who have a question about it can check their bills and they'll know exactly what is being charged right now.
Thanks, Olga.
Thank you, that's good.
And at that meeting, something important, I'm not going to spend a half hour explaining it here. You have supply and delivery. Your delivery is unaffected. Everybody's paying about 9.5 cents a kilowatt hour for their delivery, and that's about 50% of your bill. That's not going to change. Orange and Rockland owns the lines. There isn't a separate set of lines for each supplier out there. I had someone contact me saying, Richard, I currently have selected my own supplier. I don't day trade or surf or shop. I don't have time for it. And his supplier was about 9.5 cents a kilowatt hour, which is cheaper than what our Constellation is going to offer. And he was concerned about it being taken away. So anybody out there that has their own supplier, they're not even going to contact you. You'll be unaffected. For those of us that are in the pool that Orange and Rockland assigns you a random supplier, my rates have gone, there were 14 cents, then 15 cents. Last year, there was a few months where it was like 10 or 11 cents a kilowatt hour. So fixed rate over 18 months, I'm going to go along for the ride. And I think it's going to be a good ride. But you're not going to go bankrupt, and you're not going to save enough money to buy an airplane. It's half your bill. It's the supply side. And we're talking about 2 or 3 cents a kilowatt hour. And as this gains power with more people, it'll drive the rates from the other competitors down if everybody's patient enough. And if everybody wants to bail on day one, it still stays here. Jeff explained that the other night. I hope they don't. Be patient. Go along for the ride. If you want to go shop, you'll do better. Go ahead and shop if that's what you want to do. And that's all I want to say about it.
Good. Thank you. All right, general business. Get this done. The Ambulance Corps would like to hire 2 gentlemen. One of them would be Alexander Perez. He's currently with the Ambulance Corps as a volunteer. He's on the EMT list, and Jeff would like to have us hire Mr. Perez. Do I have a motion to hire Alexander Melio Perez at the part-time EMT salary schedule and 1 year of probation?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. And by the way, these 2 gentlemen are both on the EMT list, which means they're approved by the county. There's a Robert Albertson, who's also on the EMT list that the Ambulance Corps would like to hire. We would be hiring him on the same terms, 1 year probation, part-time EMT salary schedule.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. All right, we've got this franchise agreement, which I've been dealing with personally probably 20 years. That would be a good estimate. And actually, when I was supervisor before in 89 or 90 or whatever it was, I signed the original franchise agreement with Spectrum. One of the things that's held this up is I fought with them. We're televising our meeting right now. It's their equipment over there. They want to get out of it. Not televising our meetings, but they don't want to be responsible for any of our equipment. So what I've been able to get is a $10,000 commitment for equipment from them. This would be a 15-year contract. We'd be able to spend, I think it was $5,000 in the first 7 years and another $5,000 to follow.
Correct.
The other thing, we recently had them audited by an outside auditor, and the outside auditor found that they owed us, how much, Kelly? $20-some odd thousand, which we got half of, and the outside auditor got the other half. Well, they slipped in the contract, this little line that said we wouldn't do that anymore. So I said, hey, if he wants to sign this thing, that comes out. So anyway, we got that out, and we got the $10,000 for equipment, and nothing else has changed in the contract, right, Justin?
No, it's very typical. A lot of this is standardized in the industry, and it's for 15 years, and you receive a 5% franchise fee.
Yeah, that's another thing, 5%. And what does that amount to approximately, Kelly?
I think we get about $30,000 to $35,000 a year for that.
$35,000 a year, yeah. Yeah, every once in a while, I'll have someone stop me on the street and say, why can't we get somebody else? Well, first of all, this is not an exclusive contract. Anybody else wants to come in, they can do an agreement with us, but no one else wants to come in because basically there's no room for them. And the other thing is why don't we just drop these people? Well, I don't want to drop $35,000 because they're the only game in town. So why would I even think about doing that? So anyway, that's the way it goes. That's the contract. Any questions on the contract? I'll ask for a motion to approve the supervisor signing the franchise agreement.
Motion.
Second.
No questions, no discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeager?
Aye.
And Supervisor Lipsy?
Aye. Okay, we have 2 trucks that we want to buy from, Justin, why don't you take over
Sure. You discussed, or Gary Boyce came in and discussed the acquisition of 2 trucks. One is for the highway department and would be paid for out of the Highway Repair Equipment Reserve Fund. It's up to $30,000 for a used pickup truck. And the reason we delayed was that these are resolutions, and because of the fact that they're coming out of reserve funds or a particular type of reserve fund, it is subject to permissive referendum. So that's the first resolution, up to $30,000 for a used pickup truck for the highway department.
Any questions? Nope. Anybody want to make a motion to move the resolution?
Motion.
I'll second.
No discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeager?
Aye.
Supervisor Lipsy?
Aye. And?
Sure. Similarly, as was discussed, a different reserve fund, which is the Fort Montgomery Sewer Improvement Area Reserve Fund. It's a general reserve fund, so when you're spending money from those funds, you need to do it subject to permissive referendum, so the public is aware of what you are spending the money on, as opposed to something like the ambulance reserve fund where it can only be spent on an ambulance, so that can be done by straight motion. So again, this is another truck purchase for the, basically the sewer department, but for the Fort Montgomery Sewer Improvement Area, and it will not exceed $40,000.
Before we act on this, the permissive referendum, does this have to be advertised in the paper subsequent, correct?
Yes.
So June has
Okay.
notices that
Okay.
she'll send to the paper tomorrow for publication by Mary Jane on Friday.
Okay.
She does that herself.
And we can't do a thing for 30 days, is that how long it is?
That's correct. You can
Okay.
start looking, you could start doing, and if you had other revenue lines to spend the money, you could do it.
Okay.
If, for whatever reason, a referendum came forward and prohibited use of those funds, the reserve funds.
Okay. Thank you.
I think you mentioned too, Rich, I mean, you and Gary Boyce did some good searching for a good price on these vehicles. I mean, that's why, you know, he says no comment, but, you know, the behind the scenes to let everybody know that, as Richie was saying earlier, we got trucks with a couple 100,000 miles on them. And I know Gary Boyce did a good hustle finding these trucks and a good price out there. So you know,
Yeah.
there was some good legwork behind it. Just to
When
let
he
everybody
called
know.
me, he said, Sully, he said, this is not 1974, and we're not working for full sanitation anymore. We put your feet in the ground to stop the truck, so we've advanced beyond that a little bit.
Did we move the resolution,
No.
No.
Yeah. I'll make a motion.
or move the resolution, second by?
Second,
All in-
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
All right,
Councilmember DeWitt?
well done.
Councilmember Yeager?
Aye.
And Supervisor Lindsay.
Aye. Justin, this would be for you for the future. The town plows the snow at the fire department. That would be out in front on the apron and then also the parking lot. That's private property. We need to put together an agreement that we're going to plow up there and take care of them. And in the agreement, we also need insurance from them.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
could put that together.
It's a little different than traditional private property, right? Where a
Yes.
municipality is not supposed to.
This came from the insurance inspection.
Right, yeah. No, well, we can put that, but they're all correct. Should be in writing but it's a permissible use of your municipal funds.
The ambulance corps, Jeff Gathers, requested permission to use our ambulance on February the 25th. There was a wake for a member of the New Windsor Ambulance Corps. I gave him permission to do such. On March the 12th, there's St. Patrick's Day in Highland Falls, which is a drive-through St. Patrick's Day celebration. I gave him permission to do that, which the board, if they don't want to, can say so now. And on March the 18th, there's a St. Patrick's Day parade in Pearl River, which I did not give him permission to do. And again, if the board would like to send an ambulance to Pearl River.
Are those dates correct, or did you swap them? Is March 12th Pearl River?
No, March 12th is Highland Falls.
Okay. Well, the thing
Right?
that Gene gave me.
I think you mentioned it,
Okay.
yeah. March 18th is Pearl River. And
Thank
on March the 24th, there's an active shooters drill on West Point. We're going to send the ambulance to.
so I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I hear you oppose one, and you said they could for the others. I'm out of curiosity, I wonder why.
Well, if we sent the ambulance to Pearl River, it would be a whole day that our second ambulance would be out of service.
Makes sense to me.
And unfortunately or unfortunately, we don't use that ambulance that much, but today we did.
Okay, I concur. I concur. I thought maybe you'd tell me you don't like Pearl River or something.
And Pearl River is kind of like, they're our neighbor, but at the same time, we have much closer neighbors here in Orange County. I mean, that's the way I look at it, and that's why I mentioned to someone, anytime the board wants to overrule me, I don't hold any grudges, that's fine.
No, when you first mentioned it, to me, it was logical to allow for Cornwall because those people respond to some of our calls. And I don't think that's the same relationship we have with Pearl River, but the people in the audience, in the crowd may not know that. That's why I raised the question.
Okay, excellent. So is that okay?
Yes.
We'll grant the request. What else have I got? Oh. I have a resignation from Court Officer Frank Scala. He would like to thank us for the opportunity to have worked here. His badge, uniforms, and ID were given to Daniel Zinn. I ask for a motion to accept the resignation.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. General public comment. Anybody? Anything? Anywhere? Anyhow? Yes, sir.
Board, I would just like to, as a member of the ZBA, to attend the ZBA portion of the executive meeting, if that's okay with you.
I would have to say no.
I understand.
But if we find a reason to give you a call, and I don't mean tonight, you have to hang around, but we will certainly call on you. Unless, again, anybody, but how does the board feel about that?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is what's the very nature of executive session. I mean, it's rules pertaining to this, if I'm not mistaken, right? So if it's allowable, then the question is why not? If it's not allowable, then I agree with you.
Well, so typically, you are entitled to invite guests into an executive session if there is a reason to do so. In this instance, the board may want to have a conversation about any particular issue, any of the items listed, right? And that is often important for the board to be able to engage in an open conversation. There are times, right, where your controller attends part of an executive session and then she's asked to leave, right? So that the board discussion can continue. In this instance, I think the supervisor, in my mind, summed it up where if there is something to follow up directly, you're able to do that. But the ability to have certain conversations with a guest is sometimes limited.
You know, if the board doesn't agree with me and Justin, we could put it to a
Or-
Well, it's up to
We
you.
can put it to
I'm
a
just
vote.
telling you what's
No, no, no,
permissible
no.
or not
The board
permissible.
at the moment doesn't know what's going on. We need to have that conversation.
Okay.
Because by the very nature of executive session, there's certain things, not that you're sworn to secrecy. When I was on the school board, we had a superintendent that sued the district and ended up winning a large amount of money that I'm, to this day, can't tell you because I was sworn to do that in executive session. Settled, and she moved away and didn't file a lawsuit. If I were to mention that number right now, she could file the lawsuit tomorrow. So we need to have a conversation, and subsequent to that, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so my comment would be
All
we
right.
have the conversation and then we invite them back.
That's fine, right? Just procedurally, right? You've got many items, right? You don't know what potential resolution or discussion you will have, or whether you need follow-up among yourselves, or with council, or with others, right? And once you have a resolution, then you can communicate what you feel is appropriate to Ed. But it may be that's a simple call from the supervisor, or that's maybe a request to come one of the next meetings for a meeting, right, to continue a dialogue or have a different perspective. But I think it's, I guess generally speaking, right, when I look at any of the topics on, right, I don't know what the outcomes will be, right, and until you all have a path that you are choosing to move forward on, it's hard to know who might be involved.
Yeah.
Maybe the
so-
entire ZBA needs to be advised of something.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right, so let me restate that. So, after we do our executive session where we do it, where we need to get all this out, what you just said, we invite him back, or we invite him and whoever else back, but I still think that I vote for him to have the opportunity to address whatever it is he want to talk about with us.
Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss the controller's audit, building department investigation, recreation department fees for programs, and the ZBA matter. And we will not come back after the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you.